Hello, everyone. Mike's MMA Picks here with your fight day breakdown show for UFC Vegas 77, where we have Holly Holm taking on Bueno Silva. In what looks at first glance like a lackluster card, but as you begin to purse through the event, you see that there are a number of desperate fighters who, with their backs against the wall, fighters who are young and hungry and looking to stake their claim in the UFC's octagon today under the bright lights in Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, that is, at the UFC Apex. First bout of the evening, where we have the return of Ashley Evans Smith, who's coming in as a plus 210 underdog, and she's taking on Eileen Perez. Eileen Perez coming in at minus 250. Perez is a fighter who is going to try some unconventional fighting techniques and will overcommit at times. Ashley Evans Smith, I ask, where have you been the past few years? It looks like the upper half of her torso has changed dramatically. Her strength and conditioning may have lent itself to some of those changes. Ashley Evans Smith is coming off of three consecutive losses here in the UFC. Now in her late 30s, and she's taking on an Eileen Perez, who is a very aggressive fighter. That's one thing I'll say about Eileen Perez. She will go for it. And I am hesitant to lay a juicy number on Eileen Perez. Minus 250 is way too much juice for my liking. As I watch the combatants during the stare downs, the pick will be Eileen Perez, but I do not think this fight will hit the scorecards. I think we're in for a early stoppage. I think that Eileen Perez is going to go balls to the wall and attempt to implement her will, and that will lead to a finish. So give me Eileen Perez in that matchup. Next up, where we have Alex Munoz taking on Carlos Deaton. Alex Munoz, known primarily for his work at Team Alpha Male, is also a fighter with his back against the wall, coming in as a minus 225 betting favorite. And he's taking on Carl Deaton, who, for some reason, seems to have a tendency to get caught up in some animosity pre-fight. And it looked like he was staring daggers and speaking directly to Alex Munoz here. Carl Deaton got upset with Joe Selecki at one point during their fight. So Joe Selecki seems like one of the nicest guys. I wonder what he did to get under his skin. Carl Deaton, both of these fighters in their mid-30s, not much to write home about. Munoz is going to be the pick. Again, this is another fight where I'll be staying away from a money line perspective. Deaton, he's hungry, but hungry doesn't necessarily equate to UFC victories. So the pick is going to be Alex Munoz. I believe that his wrestling could be a potential difference maker here. We've got a number of comments here. Later day. Welcome aboard, Donnie. Evan, thank you for chiming in. Evan, the doubleheader was split. It was a split doubleheader today. So the boys will be back in town tomorrow for some additional games at their baseball tournament. And let's move into the flyweight division here, where we have Azek Maxim coming as a minus 450 betting favorite. In a world where he's a fighter from Kazakhstan who is taking on a Tyson Nam. I tweeted earlier in the week that Nam has I've been very surprised that he's made the flyweight limit late in his career at 38 years of age, getting up there. And Maxim, I will say this, not only does his resume tell you that he's a finisher, but go watch the tape. This is a fighter who's taller, longer than Tyson Nam, somebody who's going to come in here and push a pace, push the action. And my question is, can Nam land a counter strike here to shush the crowd and stop this undefeated fighter in his tracks? I'm not going to lay the minus 450 on Maxim. I believe this is a teachable moment for us as we sit back and watch the fight unfold. But this is another fight that I see not going the distance here. And I think that there are a few of them. Fight doesn't go the distance is sitting at minus 190. Show me something, Isaac. I want to see what you got out there. So let's see what he's made of. And Tyson Nam, we know against Silva last time out was caught up in a buzzsaw. Bruno Silva was on fire at a fight ready. Very impressed with Bruno Silva's efforts and also the submission victory over Tyson Nam, who was brutally rocked. So give me Isaac Maxim to walk away with victory in that spot. Let's see. Yes, I agree. Eileen Perez does appear to be an odd individual. You have Nam inside the distance plus 650. Well, if Nam gets it done, I believe that is the way he gets it done. We've seen against Ode Osborne and others that Tyson Nam is willing to land the kill shot, and he'll go for it. Let's work our way through the rest of this card, my brothers, on a fight day, a late fight day show. This is something that we have not done in the past, so we're breaking new ground here. 4:00 p.m. The card starts at 7, so getting this show out midday. Going to get out on the kayak in a little while and perhaps watch some of the fights on the open water. Next up, we have Evan Elder taking on Genaro Valdez. Valdez coming in at plus 245, and we've seen someone who's been out on the kayak recently, Matt Frivola, do a little bit of a number on Genaro Valdez. Valdez was beaten, knocked down, I believe, 6 or so times by Frivola, and Evan Elder has been on the cusp of winning these UFC fights, and then just something has gone wrong. Evan Elder, he's got grappling, he's got stamina, cardio, he's got striking. He will put himself in the fire, though. That's one of the problems, and that's one of the reasons why Genaro Valdez is potentially live here if he's able to land the kill shot. And you will have to put Valdez out because he is not going to go away. Evan Elder, he will be the pick, and I have a hunch that he gets this done inside the distance. This is a young man who has obviously, as you can see from the weigh-ins, and he's grown into his frame, and he's a fighter who is going to go for it. Now that cut against Sadikov was something that really put a dent in his UFC career. And I think back to Mason Jones for some reason, a fighter who he's been the goods, but then when it comes down to it, hasn't been able to get over that hump. But Evan Elder, I think he's going to walk away with the victory here. He's just got to mind his P's and Q's and pay attention to what's coming back at him. He's going to have to utilize some head movement here because Valdez is going to go for it. No doubt. No doubt. All right. We've got Melchizedek Costa taking on Austin Lingo in the next matchup. Austin Lingo, Fortis MMA fighter. We know Team Fortis, they've got a solid camp down there in Texas. And Costa fights out of Shootebox, a fighter who I was impressed last time out against Thiago Moises. Costa went for it. He's a fighter who has a solid gas tank. He's the larger fighter here. He's a fighter who has a better ground game, appears to have better cardio, has killer instinct. And Austin Lingo, it's interesting. I watched the way he fights, and he's not letting it all hang out. And the reason I think he's doing that is because he knows that there are some warts in his game. And we've seen it against Landwehr and others that I'm not sold on Austin Lingo here. I'm going to be picking Costa and to win in dominant fashion here. I know that you look at a number of books and Costa sitting at minus 215 right now. I might hit that number. We'll see what happens in the near future. But I believe that Costa coming in, losing that fight to Thiago Moises, getting dominated on the mat, weren't able to see the full repertoire of Melquizael Costa. So I'll be picking Melquizael Costa inside the distance. I think that he's going to take Austin Lingo out of there inside of the apex. Next up, where we have Victoria Dudakova, who won her Contenders Series fight as a significant underdog. She was a plus 220 underdog. And she's taking on Estela Nunes, who this is another fighter. Watch it back. She's I believe this is 3 consecutive losses in the UFC. This is a fighter who is desperate, who is hungry. And Nunes, she may get blown out of the water here against an undefeated fighter who, let's be honest, 6-0 doesn't tell us much. I'm not completely sold on Dudakova. I'm not sold on many women's mixed martial arts fighters with a 6-0 record. And I'm going to be leaning towards Estela Nunes to come out here and earn her first UFC victory, but I am by no means going after this money line number or playing anything on this fight, except I will say that Nunes potentially, this fight could get extended for a while. So I think that the over 2.5 may be in play here. Take a look at that. No play by me, but if you would like to grab a fresh Modelo or make yourself a margarita or even put a prime rib burger on the grill, this is the time to do it. Next up, we have a fantastic matchup between Melsik Bagdasaryan against Tucker Lutz. This is one of my favorite fights on the card. You watch Bagdasaryan, he's coming off of the loss to Kulabau, a fighter who he's mean. He poses a threat on the feet. And the challenge is here inside of the smaller octagon, can he main distance and cause Tucker Lutz some problems? Tucker Lutz is going to force grappling exchanges. He knows, he's got to know at this stage in the game what his strengths are. And Tucker Lutz has seen better days. I'm not sold on Tucker Lutz. I think that he has the potential to run into a buzzsaw here against Melsik Bagdasaryan. I'll be picking Melsik Bagdasaryan, and I think that there's the potential for him to run through that fighter here in Lutz and get it done inside the distance. So take a look at that knockout prop, if you will. Let's see. I didn't think Mike was hosting today. Robert, welcome. Hey, you know what? We put ourselves out there, Clint. Good to see you. Yes, we'll have the paddles out. We might even get the fishing rods out. We might even get the electric motor on the kayak today. We'll see. We'll see how things are playing out. But the pick is going to be Melsik Bagdasaryan, and I believe that he puts Tucker Lutz out. Tucker Lutz, it's interesting. They're both of these fighters are around the same age. Tucker Lutz seems like he's a fighter in his late 30s, and it seems like he has reached his ceiling at this stage in his career. I don't expect big improvements. And Melsik Bagdasaryan, we saw him get finished and get caught, a kick caught, and then finished. So I'll be picking Melsik Bagdasaryan to win this matchup, and it should be a fantastic fight. Now, you talk about fantastic fights. You talk about putting fannies into the seats. Nazim Sadikov taking on Terrence McKinney in a fight this is a fight that you do not want to miss. So if you are grilling, make sure you shut the propane off and that you come into the house. You don't want any explosions taking place. There will be explosions inside of the octagon during this fight. Nazim Sadikov minus 145 against Terrence McKinney. McKinney, we know he's going to go for it. We saw against Bonfim. He tried a measured approach last time out. It did not work out for him. He was flat on his face planted after getting brutally knocked out. And Nazim Sadikov is a sniper out there. He's somebody who's going to, I know against Evan Elder. Evan Elder's a solid fighter, though. He landed that cut on Elder and was able to salvage what was looking like a loss there. So Sadikov is a solid fighter out of Serra-Longo MMA, has solid trading partners. We'll have a great corner with him. And McKinney, we know that first round it's do or die for Terrence McKinney. So can McKinney finish Sadikov in the first round? And if he doesn't, I think Sadikov is going to win this fight between 60 and 70% of the time. So I'll be picking Nazim Sadikov, and I'll be looking to hit that live bet number if this fight sees a second round. Very, very fascinating matchup. Patrick, must win for McKinney, first round or bust. And he knows this is, it's difficult to reinvent yourself at this stage in the game. We've seen it so many times where Terrence McKinney will go for it. And he does. And he looks great at times. There's visual evidence of Terrence McKinney performing well inside of the octagon. But can he do that here against somebody who's going to try to snipe him? And I'll be picking Sadikov. I think that he's going to walk away with the victory. Not too comfortable with playing this money line number because I know how dangerous McKinney is. So keep your trigger finger ready after that first round, if it makes it there, or if you see McKinney start to completely gas out. Next up, wow, I have a lot to say about this matchup. Big Norma Dumont taking on Chelsea Chandler. Chelsea Chandler, she's coming as a plus 120 underdog, and we saw last time out she was able to establish grappling dominant positions. But what I'm not really impressed against the Stolyarenko opponent. Norma Dumont, this was the iciest face-off. Both of these ladies really went at it. You saw Dumont looks to have taken her weight cut rather seriously. Chelsea Chandler reminds me of a female version of Sam Alvey. Watch that left hand. Watch the way she carries herself. Look at the smile. Look at the clunkiness on the feet. There are so many things I see similar in the way Chelsea Chandler, the way she performs versus, or they're the parallels I see with Sam Alvey. Does anybody not see the similarities there? She keeps her chin up. She keeps her hands up. She's moving, but everything is so clunky, and the mannerisms very similar. The poses at the weigh-ins similar. Chelsea Chandler and Sam Alvey, they could be twins as far as I'm concerned. But Norma Dumont coming in as the minus 140 betting favorite. And I will say, in women's mixed martial arts at this stage in the game, you have the physicality is such a difference maker. And we know that Chelsea Chandler, when she gets her left hand going, it's like a piston. And if she lands it, people are in trouble. And Norma Dumont she's met some serious adversity, I'll say that, inside of the octagon against lesser opponents. So I'm concerned about that. I am. Be honest. I'm honest with myself. Norma Dumont, I've seen her face adversity and fail at times. But here she made weight. Icy stare down. I have a feeling these ladies are going to go for it. And honestly, I think this has a solid chance at finishing inside the distance. But I'll be picking Big Norma Dumont, as a minus 140 betting favorite. Let's see. Big Sister Vane backstage. Yes, I saw a post, I believe it was by you earlier. She was feeling her oats, and this is personal. This fight is personal for Big Norm and Chelsea Chandler. They were flipping each other the bird after the weigh-ins. So give me Big Norm to win that fight. But Chelsea Chandler, forced to be reckoned with. We know women's mixed martial arts, volatility. Next up, Albert Duraev taking on Jun Young Park. Jun Young Park coming in as the minus 155 betting favorite. And this is a situation where he's taking on Albert Duraev as a plus 145 underdog. Duraev coming in. We know Duraev has a tendency to run out of gas in fights. He's going to look for takedowns, and he's going to try to ground and pound opponents. We've seen it on the Contender Series, and in many of his bouts, he has an objective, a mission that he's a seek and destroy mission, so to speak. And Jun Young Park is a very aggressive fighter, a fighter who can use his versatility to come across the finish line. And I believe he will do that in this situation. Jun Young Park with that smile at the weigh-ins, with not making eye contact during the stare downs. He's a versatile fighter who does what it takes to win. Now, yes, Gregory Rodriguez had his number, but in this spot, Duraev, this is another live betting opportunity. If this gets out of the first round, look for Jun Young Park to turn up the throttle and find victory. And sometimes whatever it takes is what it comes down to. And Jun Young Park, we know he can strike, he can grapple, and he can do so for 3 rounds. Where on the other side of the fight, Albert Duraev, I've seen him run out of gas a number of times. And I'll be picking Jun Young Park to win. And I could see that this fight going the distance. I think Jun Young Park is going to win a decision victory. Next up, wow. Firework fight. You talk about a 21-year-old who potentially has difficulty pacing himself. Francisco Prado coming in at minus 110. This is a pick'em. He's taking on Atman Azaitar. Azaitar minus 110. Also, Azaitar, you see there is some recency bias here. Azaitar minus 110. So you look at the Frivola fight, you look at his previous matchups. Azaitar has not been very active, and he's going to fight hard for your money while he's conscious. That is a given. Azaitar is he's a tough fighter who has some heavy hands, and Prado's got some heavy hands also. I think that we are going to see the younger fighter come out and cause some trouble for Azaitar. You do not want to see Azaitar on the back foot. If you are a Atman Azaitar backer, you do not want to see him on the back foot. And I think that Prado is going to, he's young. He's feeling his oats. He's somebody who's going to go out there and go for it. And we saw against Malarkey, he did go, I believe, the distance in that matchup. But here, I'll be picking Francisco Prado to win. I know that you look at Argentinian fighters, and they typically don't have the best resumes and pedigree and competition. But Prado, he's a dangerous fighter, and he's tough. That's one thing I learned from the Malarkey fight. He is tough as nails. So give me Prado in that matchup. We've got a number of comments here. Let's see. Okay, let's see what we got here. I think we're getting a discount on the Bulldozer with the Steamroller fight. Yes, I agree. I agree. And you're right. His corner did not do him any favors. Why was he lighting a fire under Azaitar? He didn't need to do that. You don't poke the bear unless you want a firefight. And that could potentially be what Prado wants. Maybe he knows he has difficulty closing distance. And Azaitar may come right out gunning for him. Now, Jack Della Maddalena taking on Basil Chavez. Basil Chavez coming in as the plus 440 underdog. It's always dangerous when you see a fighter who's sitting at minus 600, minus 700, minus 800. Jack Della Maddalena is one of my favorite fighters on the UFC roster. My kids they know I will scream it in the car while I'm driving down the road. I believe there was a Twitter post that I put out of me singing the praises of Jack Della Maddalena at one point near the water. Here in this matchup, I am scoping out Della Maddalena inside the distance. I think that he could potentially get this fight finished in under 1.5. Chavez, tough fighter. When I see Basil, I think of the fighter Basil McRae. Does that name ring a bell for anyone out there? Any of the hockey fight enthusiasts from the 1980s? Basil McRae, tough fighter. But here we have Basil Chavez, who has shown that he's been able to hang in fights against tough opponents. The thing about this fight, I know Madalena's cut weight numerous times recently, but I think that Madalena's the goods. I do. And I know that we had another fighter who he was supposed to fight a couple of weeks ago who happened to be hospitalized. So in this spot, Della Maddalena, he's in the co-main event. I expect him to try to show out, get those hands going, show us what brought him to the big show here. And you do not want to get into a situation where you're trading strikes on the feet with Jack Della Maddalena. So give me Maddalena inside the distance. And let's talk main event of the evening, my brothers, where we have Holly Holm taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. Now, you look at the notes here, you see that Holly Holm is 15-6, and she's 41 years of age. She's closing in on her 42nd birthday. I may have, maybe a few years older than Holly Holm, and I've seen her entire career unfold, both mixed martial arts, boxing. I've seen her compete, and I've seen her get brutally knocked out in other sports other than mixed martial arts. And she's taking on Mayra Bueno Silva, who the interviews tell us one thing, but the octagon experience tells us something else. So what are we getting here? The number 3 fighter in the world in Holly Holm at -165 in a 5-round event in the smaller octagon. I will say, if Mayra Bueno Silva gets this done, it's likely inside the distance. I don't see her winning a 5-round striking-based decision. Holly Holm is usually on her horse, but maybe she's out to prove a point here. So this comes down to, what is Holly Holm's game plan? Is she going to do what she's always done? Is she going to stand at range and you hear the yeah while she's landing strikes? Or is she going to try to tangle and lock horns with Mayra Bueno Silva, potentially gassing herself out as she closes in on her 42nd birthday? Mayra Bueno Silva, she has some semblance of a ground game. I don't trust her if she's on her back. I would be inclined to believe that if she wins this fight, it's catching Holly Holm in an exchange in the pocket. Holly Holm is going to be landing kicks. She's going to be landing strikes. This is a very tough one. This is a very tough one for me to call. I have no action on this specific bout. What's happening, Marcus? Great to see you. Congrats on cashing the Pantoja card, the Pantoja ticket last week. You deserve accolades for that and that call. Very nice work. In this specific matchup, I'll be picking Holly Holm, and I do not have action on this bout. This is a low level. Well, you know what? I won't say that. Holly Holm is a higher level women's mixed martial arts. And we're getting towards the top of the division, but there is extreme volatility. We've seen Misha Tate pull off a comeback victory where she was able to lock up a submission against Holly Holm. I have no action on this bout. I'll be picking Holly Holm, but I'm staying away from this fight from a money line perspective. You look up and down this card, and you're looking at underdogs here. And I would say Estela Nunes is a live underdog in my eyes. I think that she could potentially be. I could see folks, Marcus, I could see Terrence McKinney being considered a underdog who could come through here. Let's see. I could see if Melsick is unable to land strikes on Lutz at range or in the pocket, if Lutz is able to land takedowns, he could potentially become a live underdog. I could see Albert Duraev, if he's able to put Jun Young Park on his ass and land ground and pound. I could see that. I could see Jack Della Maddalena, or any fighter for that matter, getting caught just like anybody can. And that is the key here. We know that there are no certainties in this game, no matter what we say. We remember Holly Holm against Ronda Rousey. We remember so many other significant upsets throughout the course of history. So on any given night, anyone can take home that victory. Tonight, I want to wish you the best experience of your lives watching UFC Vegas 77. Remember, my brothers, go get what's yours. Your time. Let's do this.